Views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the participants. The hosts make no claim to be literary experts, and their opinions are exactly that, opinions. All creative works discussed or reviewed are the intellectual property of the creators of said stories and is being used under the Fair Use Doctrine.
Of Swords and Soulmates, a podcast where we read, watch, and discuss romantasy stories. I'm one of your hosts, Mari, and with me I have Kelly.
Hey, it's Kelly. We also have Ashley.
Hey guys, it's Ashley. We also have Jonathan.
Hey y'all, it's JP. What's good?
All the books. All the books are good. That is the answer. All the good book reading choices. Today we're going to be discussing That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. But first, as always, some news. And we actually have a good chunk of news this time. So we will get to it. The first thing is that Guillermo del Toro is doing a Frankenstein movie. It's been like 20 years in the making because he's been saying forever that he wants to do that. It's going to be, as far as I understand, pretty closely based off of the Mary Shelley original. Oscar Isaac is going to be Dr. Frankenstein. Jacob Elordi is going to be the creature. It's going to be on Netflix in November. And I'm really excited to see what he's going to do with this story, because I have watched almost everything that he's directed, and I really like his style. So I'm very excited about this. Is anybody else a Guillermo del Toro fan here?
I appreciate the artwork. I think he is definitely a master of his craft. Not all of the monster stories are for me. Yeah. I think the last one I watched was and I'm forgetting the title. Not Swamp. It wasn't like Swamp Thing.
Like
what
the
was
Black
the one?
Lagoon one, the Shape of Water?
Yeah. Shape of Water, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, I was really moved.
It won like that year. It won like Best Picture, Best Director, and Best like soundtrack. Like it really swept everything. It was like 2018. Yeah, I like that movie. I like his Hellboy 1 and 2. I thought were really well done. He did Pacific Rim.
He did Pacific Rim?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
He did the second Blade movie. He did Crimson Peak, which to me, Crimson Peak and the 1999 Dracula movie are like the two pinnacle examples of like what I think a good gothic horror story is, visually told. Yeah.
I mean, I'm excited for Oscar Isaac.
Yes.
Sign me up.
Also, yes, absolutely.
Also, yes.
Yeah, he was...
well done, sir.
Did you see Moon Knight? Did you guys watch Moon Knight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We liked
he was
it, actually.
Very good in that.
Yeah, I agree. Was that canceled?
Who's Oscar
I believe
Isaac?
so.
Moon Knight.
It wasn't canceled. They just did one season, and I think
just one season.
Yeah, it was the whole thing where Marvel was doing one season of a show, and that was it. Like they did one season of WandaVision, one season of Moon Knight.
Also, Daddy Duke in the first Dune.
Yes.
Oh.
I forget his name now.
Duke Leto.
Leto. Thank you.
So
is this going to be a series or a movie?
No, it's
just
a movie.
It's a movie.
And where's it airing?
Netflix in November.
Oh, gotta wait so long.
Well, I mean,
stupid Netflix.
Fall, Frankenstein.
It'd be something good to look forward to, after Halloween and HHN, you have Frankenstein.
Yeah.
We still have our Christmas tree up.
You can put some little electric bolts on it for Frankenstein. It's all good.
Our desantification process needs to begin this weekend.
I'm just saying you could slap some shamrocks on it and then keep it through next month.
Keep all year?
Yeah.
That's an idea, Ash.
You could do some eggs and bunny rabbits on it for Easter. Little mini beach balls for summer. I'm just saying. And then at that point, you're into HHN season, so...
Think about it, Ash. We could do that. You just switch the beach balls would just be
some beads on it for Mardi Gras
ornaments.
It sounds like you're volunteering.
Yeah, I'll volunteer to take it down.
That's a lot of effort.
That is
to decorate it every season. This thing's not small.
Yeah.
This looks cool though. If these are these shots, are these like stills from the movie?
Yeah.
I like the use of light. I like that there's like that one. It's not as dark or dank as you might think. The images are, but it reminds me of what's that? What was that movie? Sherlock Holmes. Except he looks like he's up in a tower, overlooking things. This like, yeah, it looks wild. Like he's just almost able to survey, and just oversee what's going on around him in this tower. And well, I guess the tower makes sense, right? Because
It's
he's
powered
gotta
by
be
lightning.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. I would like to be on this set just to see it, just to explore this set. This looks cool.
So here's my thinking. In the past, well, let me put it two things, and this is my crazy predictions. Frankenstein is a Universal monster, and in the past, Universal has teamed up with Netflix stuff for HHN. I'm just saying, what better way to promote this thing that's happening in November than doing a Frankenstein house at HHN leading up to it?
And I feel like this teased us up for the next item of news.
Yes,
seems
it
to be
does.
a very big Frankenstein year. That was
and in more Frankenstein news, the Mina Lima design team is doing the classic Frankenstein story, the Prometheus Man, as their next classics book. So Mina Lima has done these gorgeous classics books where they're like, they put all these designs and gold foiling on like a cloth cover, and then on the inside you have these like pop-up things and pull-out things and just beautiful detailed imagery. I think I've got almost all of them. I may be missing like Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz because I already had another version, so I wasn't going to get it, but I think I'm going to get it. If I'm going to order this one, then I'm going to probably order those two as well. If you order it from their like website, you can get them signed, but they're in the UK, so of course shipping is expensive. Brutal. But it releases in October. So we could read it in October and then watch it in November. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, interesting.
Very well timed, Mina Lima.
Yeah, it works out. And if you happen to be in the UK, in London or in Edinburgh, they have Mina Lima, like mini museums. I don't know what to call them. I guess they're stores, but they're mini museums where you can go and like look at all these things they've done, and they have these really cool displays.
That's cool.
Yeah, the London one is the original one, and then they just last year opened one up in Scotland, in Edinburgh. So, would absolutely recommend if you're going to the area, or you live in the area, or you're in the easy travel of the area. It's a fun thing to do. All right, the next thing we have, continuing on the horror monster theme, is House of Night, the YA vampire series. It's going to be adapted to film. The books were written by PC and Kristen Cast. I have not read them, but they've just gotten picked up for film. So, yay for more, hopefully good, vampire stories. Have either of you guys read it? Or Kelly?
I have not. No.
So I have. I don't think only you and I are going to like this, Mari, if they do it halfway good. I think it's probably a little bit more, it's definitely YA if my memory serves. And I remember reading this in my very, very young adulthood. And being a big fan. And I think vampirism was something that you inherited, almost like puberty. So it wasn't something, although I think there were instances where it was, like traditional, like you were turned into it. But this very much was, like an academy. So when you turned of age and you had to go to school, and a lot of people had, their own individual gifts and things. And there was a hierarchy or a monarchy. So I do remember it being a whole big thing. And there's a lot of books, I think I have 8 of them. I think
there's like 12 or 13 of them.
Yeah, there's at least 12, I think, from the main character's point of view. And then there were several novellas, like 4 or 5 of them. So this is a pretty big world. And the fandom has been wanting this for a very, very long time. Cool. So this is big news for them.
I added it to my Libby, so I'm now waiting on it to become available. because it's not on Kindle Unlimited, but I'll probably read at least the first one and get a vibe for it for sure, because it's vampires, so I'm going to at least give it a try.
Yeah, PC.
Let's be honest.
PC and Kristen are mother and daughter. And I've read PC Cast recently, and I remember thinking this felt still very young, but also like very quick and fast paced, almost quippy. So I'm excited for this. I think this is going to be a great time for me. I can't vouch for anybody else, though. Sorry in advance.
I mean, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I'm down to give it a try. Speaking of giving it a try, we talked, I think, last week or the week before about the Black Dagger Brotherhood. That was an older vampire book series that was getting a TV show. It's the series is by J.R. Ward. So I recently read the first one of those, and as I was reading it, I was like, "This feels very dated." And then I look at the publishing date, and it's like, "Oh, this is literally a 20-year-old book." Okay, let me give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, you got to give it a few. That's funny.
Yeah. So it was actually pretty interesting, though. If anyone is interested in that, I would say give it a shot. Just realize it's literally 20 years old. Remember the world 20 years ago.
Right.
It was not the world we live in now. But it had some really interesting concepts in this story. And that one, vampirism is also inherited, and also something that you either came into or not when you came of age. In that case, the of age is like 25 years old. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, I'm going to read the next one of those. So it's always fun thinking you have read a lot of the vampire stuff out there, and then all of a sudden it's like all this stuff is coming out that I had never heard of, never followed, and now I'm getting excited about more vampire stuff. So
good times.
Let me jump to the last news we had, because it's also semi-vampire related. Ali Hazelwood announced the sequel to Bride is coming out on October 7th of this year, which seems very fast to me, seeing as I've already pre-ordered books that are coming out in like October and November. But yeah, so Bride is her publishing debut that was not just a contemporary romance. It was, vampire and werewolf. And it was well received. It's popular. She's going to be at the Romanticon in Orlando that we're going to be going to this year in October, actually. And this book, the sequel to Bride, comes out at the beginning of that month. So interesting.
Yeah.
That should be fun.
If the story continues for like the parts that I've gotten through, I look forward to it. So I'll hold back until I finish Bride, but once so far I'd be interested in more.
Yeah,
high praise coming.
I like her. I like her writing style. She originally started writing fan fiction and got very popular, and then published her first book, which I believe was Love Hypothesis, like a Kylo Ren, Rey type fan fiction.
That's what I heard.
In modern STEM. And so that's what I believe, I'm going off memory here, that's what all her other published books are, is contemporary romance in the STEM world, which some of them are really good. I've enjoyed some of them. I think I've read all but 2. But yeah, I thought The Bride was fun. I think anyone who likes the writing style of her other books would enjoy it, and anyone who likes vampire or werewolf, monster romance type stuff would enjoy The Bride. Or Bride. I keep saying The Bride. It's just Bride.
Yeah, even Bride feels STEM-ish, like it's or STEM adjacent.
Does. I agree. Yeah, because I believe, and this is going off memory, her background, like her day job, is in STEM. She's a scientist of some kind. I want to say chemist, but
I love that for her.
That's going off memory, but that's her main gig, and so she is pretty well versed in that world.
I was gonna say, write what you know, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the last bit of news I have is that Hulu will not be proceeding with the ACOTAR TV show.
Surprise.
They've had it since 2021. It was going to be their first fantasy series, and they are now letting it go, which It's kind of sad, but also I think maybe kind of good because maybe somebody else will pick it up and actually run with it.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised at the Hulu pick from the get-go, especially with when the whole, Disney thing went down. That did not seem to be, well, I mean, they do The Handmaid's Tale very well. I will say that.
Yeah.
So I think that was really my only big hope for ACOTAR. I don't think this is the end of ACOTAR, though. I think this will get produced.
Where would you put it?
I think you have to do it with like Max or Amazon. Amazon might be a problem because of Fourth Wing, the Fourth Wing adaptation. So there are probably other studios that will bid higher. Amazon and the Michael B. Jordan Productions will want to invest into Fourth Wing and not compete with that, is my guess. So maybe Max.
Just because they're both big budget productions.
And big fantasy, romantasy, right?
Yeah.
It's in the very
special
similar
effects
vein.
and everything.
Right.
It'd be hard for one to do both.
Could you buy rights without having to produce it? Could you just buy the rights to eliminate your competition? So if you're Amazon's got...
I mean, I guess you could, but I think
Wing,
there's money to be made in it. Like there's a cult following. And
but you can throttle the release. So you could get
it's already been done. I think if she inks another deal, because Hulu and Disney sat on it for 4 years. So I think if she's going to ink another deal, she's going to want it made, is my guess.
Yeah, a lot of times these deals usually have a timer on it, like, you have to release a movie within so long or you lose the rights. And that's why you get these shadow film effects. So like Sony wanted to hold on to the rights to the Fantastic Four. So they made a Fantastic Four movie and never released it. And that other studio did that with that Batgirl movie.
That's what I was going to ask. Brendan Fraser and Batgirl, right?
They made a Batgirl movie, but never released it. They basically made it so they could say they made it so that they would then keep the rights to make any future sequels and stuff. So that kind of thing happens in Hollywood a lot where they make the movie or do it. Well, it depends, I guess.
Sarah, don't do it, Sarah.
Right. I guess it depends on when you think about it from the shitty standpoint of the bean counter executive. If we make a really crappy movie and never actually send it to special effects, don't spend all of the money on special effects like it should. Just spend, enough to make it look like a crappy 1970s effect level movie. And then, we don't have to market it. We don't have to deal with distribution costs, et cetera, et cetera. Is it worth the trade-off of being able to keep the rights to it?
That's dumb as shit. Don't do it, Sarah.
Yeah. Man, if they've made ACOTAR and they made Throne of Glass, like whoever does those, if they do it and they do it well,
they just have to do it halfway. Like it doesn't even have to be that good. I think at this point, we're all so damn thirsty for something else from her.
Yeah, the perfect example of this and rights distribution and all this stuff is, you remember the Dick Tracy movie with Warren Beatty, right? So Warren Beatty was always like a huge Dick Tracy fan. That was like his thing. He wanted to make a Dick Tracy movie his entire life, etc., all of that stuff. So one of the funny things that happened with that is that Dick Tracy actually got the rights to make the movies, or Warren Beatty got the rights to make the Dick Tracy movies and any Dick Tracy films in the future, as long as a Dick Tracy movie is made every so often, a sequel is made every so often. So back in 2002, the original Dick Tracy right holders, Tribune Media, tried to sue Beatty for the rights back, and Disney said they were never going to make a sequel. So Dick Tracy said, well, since I have the rights, I'm going to make a sequel. So he was making shitty little home movie sequels. Literally, you can look this up. The story is crazy. He was making basically little, shitty home movies dressed as Dick Tracy, and he would, release them, and that would fulfill the contract so that he would retain the rights.
I love a petty queen.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it was in 2022 or 2023, he released another one where all it was him in Dick Tracy costume on a Zoom call with 4 other people talking like he was in Dick Tracy, like he was in the Dick Tracy character. And that gave him renewed the rights for him for another 7 years.
Magical.
So he was so bitter about Disney not making a sequel that's what he has been doing to retain the rights so that nobody else could make a Dick Tracy movie.
Fuck yeah.
That first Dick Tracy movie was kind of shitty.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great movie, but I mean,
yeah, if you look at it through the lens of like a fluffy film, then it makes sense.
Campy.
Yeah, it's like Get Smart meets Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah,
to me.
Yeah, so now Warren Beatty, because of Tribune Media going bankrupt, Warren Beatty essentially holds the rights for everything related to Dick Tracy as long as he continues to make those movies every so often.
Amazing.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
you know who messed up?
You should really, like, anybody who wants to read about this, just Google Warren Beatty, Dick Tracy copyright battle and read this, like, story that in itself could be a Hollywood drama movie about this and the petty feud between Dick Tracy and Disney and everything. It's hilarious.
The people who messed up like a sweetheart deal like that were, was it the toy company that had the Star Wars rights from the beginning? All they had to do was give them $10,000 a year in royalties, and they would retain the rights in perpetuity. And somebody forgot to cut a check one year.
Yep.
And then they went back to renegotiating. It was like, and he's like, that was a mistake. Then we paid for it. But like those deals, like every once in a while, I mean, these are humans striking these deals, but I don't know that you'd get me to sign a deal of that nature. If I was Sarah and I was writing a deal, it would be like, hey, this is going to be pay or play. If you're going to tie me up for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, I want money in order to keep. If you're going to put me on the bench, then that's cool. You can produce it at your own thing, but you're going to get this storyline, and you're not going to get any of my other work. You might have. I'm not even going to give you right of first refusal, and if you go 2 years and you haven't produced it, the money's going to go up. I want another payment. Like, I want you to. You're going to pay me up front for the rights, and then you're going to pay me every 2 years until you produce the film, and every 2 years the money's going to go up. And if they don't want to sign it at school, I'll just go somewhere to have it made. If you believe in your work at that level, after reading Akatar and then reading Tog, can I call it Tog?
No.
Why can't I call it Tog?
You sure cannot.
Why not? It's called the one Akatar. I want to call it Tog.
No,
TOG.
Throne of Glass.
After reading Tog. What does the other one get to be a word, but this one can't be?
TOG.
I like Tog better. No. I like the
G is capitalized. It's TOG.
I don't capitalize the O.
Nobody asked you.
You can make a T of G.
I like the Throne of Glass. The first one I like more. So is my TV on? Sorry, I thought I had.
Sometimes our TV randomly starts making music. Sorry.
The night after,
ours does that too.
The night after the Super Bowl, the morning after, my phone like erupted into an automatic like YouTube play of like a touchdown, and at like 4:30 a.m. it was like, what is that? I don't know how to shut it off. Anyway, so the Throne of Glass book seems more entertaining to me. It's not as it's still I guess, I don't know. So if I was her, that's the series I would want to have made.
Because you haven't read any of the other books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell you.
Be popular, but I think somebody needs to make them. You're going to make so much money by making them. Come on, people.
It's if the two are the two giants right now, Sarah and Mother, what's her name, Rebecca?
Giants
in this space, are those the two big
in
dogs
like the romantasy space?
Yeah.
They're definitely
those are the two like most like best selling, I would say.
JLA's up there.
If you're going by sales.
So are we like just looking for if one gets a series, the other one gets a series, or are these companies trying to lock down one of these two authors into a commitment?
Well, I mean, Rebecca's already committed, and so was Sarah up until recently. So I mean, I don't think I understand your question. Well,
the question is, if so, Sarah and Rebecca, they got to get locked down into a contract to have these their work produced on screen, some one type of screen. If you're a competitor, if you're a market rival, Are you and Rebecca's got a deal. Are you that with your market rival? Are you then trying to go out and find something in the same vein? And if that's the case, and Sarah is open now to receiving offers, do you just jump on it? Is that the thing? Like WWF and WCW, kind of, you got to get these two rivals and see what happens.
I don't know. You're getting too businessy now, sir.
Ford
That's
versus
not what we're
Chevy.
here for.
You know, like you get these two top dogs, and one is, you know, if you're Hulu and fighting for market share, why would Hulu back out? There has to be something. Maybe she's like me and she put too many demands on it.
Yeah, I don't know if Hulu could. Maybe Hulu. I don't know. Maybe they didn't think it was going to be worth their while. Maybe they thought it was going to be too much of a budget investment. I don't know.
I would love to see it as Disney Plus.
Last bit of news is A.K. Caggiano, who we read recently, Thrown in the Dark. Her stuff was independently published, and it's now being picked up by Sourcebooks Casablanca to be traditionally published. So Thrown in the Dark is going to be republished, re-released, or whatever, traditionally November 4th of this year. And then the rest of the trilogy and the standalone novels and all this stuff will be coming after that. And they're going to have all new covers and
That's big
all that fun stuff.
Good job.
Good for her. I still haven't started in on reading any of the others, but I do plan to read the sequels and go from there. I enjoyed it. It was a fun world. Anybody else have any news?
Ma'am, I sent you all my news. I kept you busy this week.
Yes, you did. You guys all sent me news. It was very good. I think everybody sent me news. So yeah, absolutely appreciate it. Okay, so on to why we're here is to talk about That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon, which is a heck of a title. We chose this book because it's Black History Month. And we actually have been, I know at least Ash and I have been kind of talking about this book for a little bit. Like, you'll send me things about it, I'll send you things about it. And I had read the first one. I had read this one a while back, and I had been wanting to get back into it because there are 3 of them. So we went with it for this month. This book was originally published January 2nd of 2024. And let me read the synopsis, then we'll get into it. Spice trader Cinnamon's quiet life is turned upside down when she ends up on a quest with a fiery demon in this irreverently quirky rom-com fantasy that is sweet, steamy, and funny as hell. All she wanted to do was live her life in peace, maybe get a cat, expand the family spice farm, really anything that didn't involve going on an adventure where an orc might rip her face off. But they say the goddess has favorites, and if so, Sin is clearly not one of them. After Sin saves the demon Fallon in a wine-drunk stupor, Fallon reveals that all he really wants to do is kill an evil witch enslaving his people. And who can blame him? But now he's dragging Cinnamon along for the ride, whether she likes it or not. On the bright side, at least he keeps burning off his shirt.
Heck yeah.
That right there, that synopsis is like the tone of the book, I would say. So what did we think?
I loved this book.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Very unserious. Very campy. It was fast-paced. I was here for it. It was a good read. It was a good palate cleanser.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've read some thick books lately.
Yeah. I agree. What would you give it as far as your overall rating?
It was a 3 for me, like a 3.5. Actually, yeah, let me refrain. 3.5. I enjoyed it. I got through it fast enough. It didn't feel like a chore. I was entertained. I laughed. It could have maybe had a little bit more depth. Maybe that was what I felt was missing. But for 250 pages, I felt like, we got through a lot. I was entertained. It was a good time. Why are you glaring at me?
Oh, campy. I had to figure out what campy meant.
Okay.
That's all. It's like, and then I was
What
like,
We Do in the Shadows is campy.
yeah. And then I had to sit down and think like, what made her use the word campy? So I'm just trying to
staring at me.
use the word campy. Because like we've been together for how long? Never has that word come out of your mouth. And I'm like, well, did she use it correctly? Yeah.
You
Okay.
always question me.
Well, come on.
I hate you so much.
I think to bring out campy.
You're just mad you didn't know.
So what did you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, what did you think?
Interesting. So it was did anyone else listen to it as well as read it?
No.
Okay. So the voices it was like Southern Charm voices. And it was like except for like the dragon dude, he was pretty like, he had a normalish kind of like, it was interesting because it was like he was almost like uh she was spirited and lighthearted, and he was more like very matter of fact, very driven, like this happens now kind of like tone in his voice. So for me, I felt it was, I agree, it was a nice palate cleanser. It was lighthearted, it was fun to read. It was interesting to see kind of how the story developed and how the like things just were hiding in like plain sight for them. I don't know. I don't know if I laughed as much at all, but I thought it was a good read. Stars. I felt it was more spice than I had read in a little bit. It was interesting. I don't know. Let's see. I would say, I think on Goodreads I gave it a 5-star. It was a very polite, fun read. It was dirty and clean at the same time. Does that make sense?
Dirty and clean at the same time. It does make sense, actually.
But yeah, if I had laughed, I would have given it like a monster spice rom-com kind of designation. But I didn't laugh. Maybe I just need to work on my sense of humor.
Lower your expectations.
I mean, humor is difficult. Like, humor doesn't always hit the same, for every person.
This is true.
I probably need to work on my sense of humor. I'm the one who's over here laughing at at chaos when that baby bit the dust. Like, but the books I'm supposed to laugh at, I'm not laughing at. I don't understand. I should probably check my medication. Yeah, so I would say I enjoyed it. I would read it again. And I would probably continue on in the series, although probably not going to continue on in the series this year for myself. But
you had a lot to do.
Yeah, I will put the other books in the series on my
TBR.
Yeah. You know what it is?
No.
I think it's a banganing. I have not had a banganing in a while.
A whole year.
I think although it's a very slow banganing, it's like, remember when I gave you the Killing Curse, Ashley, and you looked at me and I was like, it's slow, it's gonna take a long time, but it'll happen eventually. That's a slow setup for me. So like on her deathbed when she passes away, I'm gonna be like, I got it. Mom, Hogwarts letters coming any day now. The like when what is he they have to like, he bit her and then they like
the mating bond.
Yes. And then she gets some of his magic slowly. Okay, so it's a slow acting banganing. But I think it's the banganing. So yeah, 5 stars.
Kelly, what did you think?
I enjoyed the book. I thought it was funny. It reminded me a lot of that same style of humor as Assistant to the Villain, kind of. That just kind of funny, the female character being very headstrong and saying whatever crossed her mind. So I thought that was fun. I thought the book was funny. It was definitely a light read. It was enjoyable. So I gave it a 3.5. I think it was definitely a fun read and something you should read if you're looking for something amusing to read in between more serious books.
I agree. For me, I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I gave it like a overall 4 stars. I liked that it felt like a cozy fantasy book smashed up with like a monster romance book, which monster romance tends to have some spice in it. So it ended up being this like cozy, spicy monster romance situation. And I liked that a lot of the background of the town was like, felt very like Louisiana Bayou culture. So you had like, sometimes I like to think about things in terms of food. Should be a shocker to no one who knows me. It felt like a a bowl of like Cajun spicy pasta, like cheesy, comfortable, cozy, but spicy. Yeah, I liked it. I read it last year and then just hadn't read the others, and so this year I reread it for this and went ahead and read the other two books. Which I would also recommend if you like this one. I'm not going to spoil anything on any of the other books, but I would absolutely recommend the other ones as well. And the same author is coming out with another book, I think next month. It's a different series, but it seems like a similar tone. It's like That Time I Got Abducted by Aliens and I'm in a rom-com, I think is the actual name of the book, which seems like
I love that.
a fun read if you like this. So yeah, it was 4 stars for me. I enjoyed it. Would absolutely recommend.
It moved fast, way faster, right?
Yeah. And it had more in it than I was originally expecting. I remember the first time I read it, I was like, oh, this is going to be like your typical fantasy, Tolkien-esque fantasy, but with like maybe some spice and maybe some, humor. But it ended up being different. It had a different vibe to it because I thought the humor hit more like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or Assistant to the Villain. And I thought that the magical feeling was more like, Swamp Witch, like Mardi Gras at Universal tribute store kind of vibes for the magic. And I didn't expect a demon to be a dragon, and I didn't expect there to be such a deep backstory in terms of like saving these enslaved peoples, and it ended up being both a lighter book than I expected, but also touching on some really good plot points that I didn't expect.
Serious topics, yeah.
So I definitely enjoyed it. It's definitely a 4. I think that my favorite book in the series might be the third one, but either way, it was a fun series, and I would absolutely recommend it to anyone. So, what do we think about like the world building? What do you guys feel about that?
I think maybe that's what exceeded my expectations. And you kind of already touched on it. Like, we went to different areas, right? We went from very, very desolate, farming Louisiana Bayou. We crossed over some hills. We saw some vagabonds. Like, we went to swamps. We went to cities. We went to deserted islands. Yeah, we did a lot of traveling in less than 300 pages. So it was very fast paced. We covered a lot. We went to a lot of places, but I thought it was very well done, while also addressing some pretty heavy topics in a lighthearted way. Discrimination, slavery, these were big topics. And I think the world building was probably my favorite part, for as fast paced as it was and as lighthearted as they made it to be.
Yeah.
That was a 5 for me. What you got, husband?
I was like, I thought it moved because it moved so fast, and maybe that would have been a good point of humor where he was like, all right, job done. She was like, yeah, good luck on the other 3 places, kind of thing.
Peace out.
I'm done here. Good. Wash my hands. And then she's like, kind of like, I could see her like, kind of like, oh, let's go take my Victoria stroll back home kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, pow, he's, it's like, wait, what do you mean? And then they were off on this adventure. I didn't think it felt very much like normal Earth, but like it, I think I would like to know more about the demons and the witches and the different magics. And I don't think we went deep enough there. Like, the actual physical world just felt like normal to me. Normal, undeveloped, kind of like, yeah, there's an island, it's in the middle of nowhere, cool. Or there's a city, but it didn't feel like it was like a modern city. It wasn't, it just felt.
What you're saying is you want more.
Yeah. 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 But I think for what it had in the short amount of time, I think she did a very good job keeping in the story what was necessary to keep the story moving forward. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good job.
What's your rating?
4.
Oh, sorry.
How about you, Kelly?
I mean, I agree. I think the world building was very well done for such a short duration of a book. I mean, right off the bat, you got established into this world where there was this definitively established religion that was well thought out. The economy was pretty well established with the different, traders specializing in different things. The establishment that the family is this spice trading family. All this stuff was, pretty well thought out and quickly established without a whole lot of need for big exposition dumping. So it was pretty well done. And I think overall the pace of the world building really helped the story move along quickly and not bog it down. So I think it was very well done. And I would say it's definitely a 4.
Yeah. For me, I would say the fantasy world building was like a 4.5. I really enjoyed the world of it. I enjoyed that the setting, like her hometown. I enjoyed the idea that there's this like cozy kind of town, but it's also like open in a lot of ways to outsiders, and there's still influence from other places. Like her mom was not from there, like the way she described that her mom has this whole backstory that I want to know about. Where's her mom from? Like, what's her mom's story? And then when the demons were introduced, and it's like, oh, they're not all like this one demon that we know. They're like all sorts of different kinds of demons from all sorts of different places. And then they're not the bad guys. They're like have their own culture, and they were, removed from their homeland to this like frozen wasteland. And yet in all that, even with as the author kept exploring this world and bringing more and more elements in, there were pirates. Like, I didn't expect them to become pirates.
A dancing hyena?
Yeah, dancing hyena. But even in the midst of all that, like Cinnamon, the main character, I think still felt like she kept her own personality. She's like this reluctant bookworm who likes snacks. And I'm like,
Same.
I kind of identify with you, ma'am. She pulled that French bread out of her pocket. And I'm like, yes.
Well, she kept pulling snacks out of her pocket. It was like the Wizard of Oz black bag of never-ending gifts.
You guys don't have pocket burgers where you go? Places? It's a trendy thing.
Yeah, Cinnamon is the
then
one
she
to
was
travel
funny
with.
about it. She's like, eventually the pocket ends.
Yeah.
Like, there's only so much room.
And it wasn't just loaf. I mean, she pulled out apples. She pulled out dried beef.
Yeah. And all the spices she brought with her.
She even said, I always keep extra snacks in these pockets. I mean, come on.
She weaponized.
I'm not going to say that Kelly and I have a bag labeled snacks that it hangs outside the door that comes with us filled with snacks anytime there's any sort of road trip. But I'm not going to say that doesn't happen either.
I mean, it's a necessary requirement.
Yep.
I would agree.
So you guys have a snackle box?
It's a big bag labeled snacks. Yeah.
Nice.
Romance. What do you think of the romance?
The romance was also fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
I was here for it. There was nothing wrong with this. We're not on spice, we're on romance. I thought the romance was delightful. You saw some development, right? You saw some growth for Cinnamon. She had kind of had her heart sort of broken, and so she was content with who she was and the life she was living. She didn't need adventure. She had some trauma, right? Some family trauma. And she was like, I'm good here like this. And then in comes this demon who is flirty and not mean at all, actually. Well, to her anyway. in hindsight. He was mean to other people. And I liked it. I liked everything about the romance. It was a 4 for me. I mean, for such a small book, for as many pages that there were, I did see a lot of growth for Cinnamon. I think Fallon was pretty level loaded, and I was impressed with his admission that he knew that they were mates, from basically the get-go, and he didn't force that idea upon her immediately, like some other books we've read. A+ for consent.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked it. I think it was a 4. It was fun and it was flirty, and there was that touch her and you'll die trope, which I'm a fan of. And he listened to her. Yeah, that was a 4 for me. And he was a dragon.
Interesting. I liked it. It was fun. It was flirty to me. I thought it was he was more direct than she was, but she was not in denial. She was very much empowered throughout the story. And then even when she had her pick of the litter, it was still very much like almost like, yeah, that's my mate. We haven't done the whole thing yet, but that's my mate. Like, to kind of get out of it. Like, it was very interesting how, and like how he would even be willing to be like, oh yeah, I guess like if you guys want, if your family does the ceremony, we could do a ceremony. Like,
it's very accommodating.
He was, and she was. I think initially when he was like, hey, this is what I think is the right thing, and she was like, didn't you just like come in my house and like try to take out my family?
Semantics.
Yeah, he was like, well, sort of, but like, you guys were trying to kill me. Like, how else was I going to do this? So like, I didn't kill anyone. I was just, maybe I like shoved somebody around, but yeah, you guys were going to kill me. So
you started it.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, that's, yeah, we'll move the goal line a little bit there. But yeah, I thought it was like, what's the word? Like ignorant flirting on his end, and like on her end, she was like, let me just teach you how to do this. The cooking through love language, or cook like that, or like the love language through cooking, or like just him making comments, like, like, I don't eat your stuff, but I saw it, and I thought, like, I'll try to make this, and I hope I didn't really mess it up. Like, that was interesting to me. It was sweet. Yeah. And
I like how you were going to say it was interesting. Like, you didn't have a different adjective for it. Was sweet, husband. What he did was sweet. It was kind. It was thoughtful. Not interesting.
It does not compute.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to help you here.
Yeah. So I thought in that space, it was, because it was light and flirty. I'll give it a 5. Was it sweet, Kelly? How'd you feel, Kelly?
I mean, I thought the romance was fine. It had a lot of the same typical tropes we see in a lot of fantasy romance books. The touch her and you'll die, all that kind of thing, the fated mates, etc., etc. But what I enjoyed most about the romance was the romance that happened between two of the side characters. The what's her name? The lady that owned the bar that then basically became the pirate queen, and the snake demon. That was kind of an amusing romance that brewed in the background.
I like that. I like how she controlled. I like how they shared the power too.
Yeah, so I thought the romance was fine. I think it had a lot of tropes, a lot of the typical stuff. So I feel like it was good, but just kind of average. So I said it was a 3.
Yeah, for me, I liked the touch her and you'll die thing. I liked the it felt like he fell first kind of thing. I did not. I guess the flirting, the romance, the build up did not hit for me so much on romance. I felt like the fated mates was used as a shortcut to romance. Like, they're fated mates, therefore they like each other. So for me, the romance buildup didn't hit. So I have romance as a 3.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sweet is what you mean, Ashley.
Spicy. On to spicy. What do we think of the spice?
There was a lot of spice. This is more spice we've had in a minute. I thought it was polite spice. I thought it was well thought out spice. I thought it was sweet spice, and I thought it was spicy spice, and I thought it was a 4. Though it was not. I mean, there was one part where it was like 4 pages of like spice. I was like, swipe, swipe, swipe. Dang, like this goes on and on and on and on. So kudos to the author for really punching it in there. Our TV's talking again, I think. Sorry. Maybe you should just turn it off. It was a lot of spice, and I thought it was good spice. I was not mad at the spice.
There was a banganing. You can't be mad at the spice. There's a banganing. Ooh. Yeah. It's been a while since we had a banganing. I was excited for the banganing. What is happening?
Just turn it off.
Sorry, our electronics cannot be controlled.
The TV wants to give its rating.
Sure does.
It's insane. Remind me to tell you the TV story later. Anyway, the banganing.
Focus.
Yeah. How could you not focus when a banganing is occurring? I thought the spice. I wanted it to happen earlier. I think it's the only negative I have for it is that like let it happen in the river.
You like faster. Your ladies to be a hoe?
That's why I chose you. I'll give it a 4.
Kelly, what'd you think?
There was definitely more spice than what we've normally seen in the last few books, I guess. I thought it was pretty decent. I don't know that it was something that was absolutely amazing or super well written or anything like that. I feel like it was fine. So I gave it a 3.
For me, I put the spice at a 4 because a lot of this was, when I would read stuff about it, it was described as like a cozy fantasy more than a monster romance. So for cozy fantasy, I felt like it had more spice than I would expect out of a cozy fantasy. It's about as much spice as I would expect out of a monster romance. But I thought the spice was well done. I like that the world seemed to be sex positive. There was no shame around sex. I think that consent was well done. I thought that like them equally being aware of each other's needs and wants was well done. Yeah, I think it was good. I liked it. So before we get to the last question, as I was reading it, I was like, okay, so that town where they freed all the demons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did everybody else in that town just like burn up? They all just died? When they set the town ablaze and they're like, see ya, we're on the pirate ship.
I think they were just kind of left to their own...
Burninating the villagers.
To figure it out. Yeah. You've been liberated. Now you get to deal with the cleanup by yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
I was like, okay, so one person got the opportunity to like get on the ship, the tavern keeper chickie. She's like, oh, demons are actually people and slavery is bad. Everybody else like had no opportunity.
No, they were not part of the band.
Right.
Not at all.
But yeah, I enjoyed this world a lot. The world gets wider and deeper, and there's some really interesting stuff that happens in the second and third, mainly the third book, but second and third book. So I would, if you guys enjoyed this, I would recommend the second and third book. Do we think that this is a kissing book? Is this a kissing book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make it a kissing book.
Yeah, I think it has to be a kissing book.
Same.
Oh, look at us, guys. Look at us.
All right. Is there anything else anybody wants to say about the book?
I mean, again, just kudos to the author. I feel like we touched on a lot of, very heavy topics, modern and historic ones. Like you were saying, body positivity, sex positivity, discrimination, slavery. There were characters where they admitted, right? Like the tavern lady, was it Usha? Where she, the realization dawned on her that the demons were being kept in basically slavery, and how they were sentient. They had thoughts, they had feelings, and oh shit, I've been fucking up this whole time and just allowing this to happen. And so it was a very brief scene, but I thought that was very touching and appropriate, because it was common sense to Cinnamon, right? But Usha hadn't really known any different. And then when she did, she apologized to the first demon that she saw.
Right.
Like hugged him sobbing, right, onto Fallon. So, kudos to the author for really taking some very heavy topics and making them, I want to say, easy to digest, but I feel like that's really simplifying it. But I really did enjoy.
Easier to talk about, I would say, right?
Yeah. She built this whole world basically. And like Kelly was saying, the whole religion, I kind of glanced over that myself. But yeah, I mean, it was really, she did a lot in a very short time frame. And I really enjoyed that about her writing.
I think it was interesting because, she established this religion context in her story, and then the whole gist of part of the story is all of these villagers and all these people had just always been following this religion without questioning it. And so, kind of is this a comment on modern day religion and just following what your religion tells you without ever questioning your religion? Or does your religious beliefs make any actual sense? So that was an interesting angle to the story as well.
Yeah, or at the very least questioning the actions that your religious leaders ask you to do. I really enjoyed this author. Like I said, I read all three of the books and the two novellas. I've also read her, she wrote a little short novella for Christmas that was very funny. It's What's a Girl Gotta Do to Get on the Naughty List, which I would recommend as a holiday read. It's a Krampus holiday, modern day, like, fun little story. The book that she has coming out is actually going to be out by the time that this episode releases. So the book releases on February 18th. We're recording on February 15th. The book is called I Got Abducted by Aliens and Now I'm Trapped in a Rom-Com. And the cover has a female character being held in the arms of like an alien-looking character, and there's dinosaurs in the background. So
dinosaurs.
I really like I did not look up and see who did these her artwork on the covers, but I really like the style of the artwork on these covers, where it's very like cartoony but also lush and detailed. It was very well done. So alrighty. So thanks for listening to Of Swords and Soulmates. Before we go, make sure to check out notes, rate and review, and subscribe to us on your podcast app of choice if it's an option. It helps others to find us. Follow us on Instagram at Of Swords and Soulmates, or join our Facebook page, Of Swords and Soulmates. Check us out on our website, ofswordsandsoulmates.com, or on YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest with the same username. If you'd like to offer a suggestion for a future episode, give us your opinion, any of that stuff, please feel free to contact us on any of those options or email us. If you want to read along with us as we prep for a new episode, follow us on Goodreads at Of Swords and Soulmates, or for chapter-by-chapter interaction on the Fable app at the Of Swords and Soulmates Book Club. We also have a Tome account, which is also under the Of Swords and Soulmates name, so you can follow us there as well. And last but not least, we hope that you'll join us in 2 weeks for our next episode, when we'll be discussing Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, the latest installment in the Empyrean series. Bye!
Buckle up, guys.
Yes.